right. Well, I am showing that it is noon here in Colorado, so we are going to go ahead and get started with today's session. Um, so welcome to CSL in Session, Playing Well with Others at Work. CSL in Session is a project that has been made possible in part by the Institute of Museum and Library Services. My name is Christine Krieger, and I am the Professional Development Consultant for the Colorado State Library. If you haven't had a chance to introduce yourself, feel free to do so in the chat in the lower left-hand corner. You can let us know who you are and where you're logging in from. Before we get started today, I want to tell you a little bit about CSL in Session in case you haven't had a chance to attend before. You may be very used to webinars where there's a presenter who's sort of talking at you for the whole hour, but we're not going to do that here. We're going to shake it up and we're going to try to get a conversation about play going today, and there will be hopefully very playful moments as we go through. The main way that you will communicate is via the chat in the lower left-hand corner. Before I forget, there is also a handout for today. You don't necessarily need it as we go through, but it's yours to use. And if you want to go ahead and download it, it is also on the left-hand side, right underneath where the participants are. If you click right on Field Guide to Play, it will allow you to download the PDF. It is also available on the Libraries Learn website, and I'll have a link to that at the close of the session. Since this session is all about play, we are going to experiment with some Adobe Connect tools along the way, but we will explain them when we get there. If you happen to be having any tech issues at all, you can send me a private message. If you go all the way to the top left of the screen where it says Colorado State, that's me as the host. If you hover over that, you should be able to send me a private message. And I apologize, I have two mice right now that I'm working with here. And we also have a live captioner for today's session. So if you would like to turn on closed captioning, there's a CC button around the middle at top of the Adobe Connect bar. It will allow you to turn the captions on or off. You can also move them around the screen and change the size of the font if you need to. So I was a couple slides behind. Apologies. So without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce my co-host for today. We have Sharon Morris, who is the Library Leadership Development Consultant for the Colorado State Library, and Kieran Hickson, who is our Rural and Small Library Consultant for the State Library. So I am also going to be joining them. Normally I'm just in the background, but I'm going to be joining them as we move through today as well. So.
Hey there, this is Kieran. And I'm going to have you do a little activity. And I want to know what made you join this session. And up at the top, kind of next to the mic and next to the closed captioning thing, there's a little button where you can raise your hand. So raise your hand if you came to this play session, sorry, because sometimes you're a grump at work and you need to be more playful at work. All right. And then you can put your hand down, I think. And raise your hand if you joined this session because you're a clown at work, really, but you get a lot of stuff done and you want to be more valued for your humorous ways.
I see a couple of those. Very good.
Then you can put your hand down. And then raise your hand if you're a skeptic about this whole play at work stuff, because work should be serious.
No skeptic.
Everybody gets play. Yeah.
All right, and if there's another reason, because like your boss made you or something like that, please put that in the chat. We'd love to hear about it.
So Lynn says that she used to work in children's before moving to reference, and she thinks that grown-ups should get to play too.
I agree. Indeed. Absolutely.
Yay, Lynn. I worked in children's too.
I see a couple other people typing, so we'll wait just a minute. Having a little fun takes the stress out and gives us more enjoyment in the job. Yes. And Cassie says that she leads a team and she would like to maintain a culture with some playfulness. And so we will definitely be sharing great information about that. And just very quickly, before we move on again, I just wanted to remind everybody that we do have a handout for today's session. If you weren't here right at the very beginning, right underneath participants, you should see the handout where it says Field Guide to Play. You don't necessarily need it for today's session, but it's yours to have and take notes and refer to if you want to. It also is on the Libraries Learn website. All right, so we can move forward.
Yeah, and so I guess one of the reasons, this is Sharon, and one of the reasons that I have been compelled to study play and research play at work is because I notice people who are more playful in their work and create more fun are just more energized with their work, and they're more fun to work with. So today what we're going to do together, all of us, is kind of by the end, hopefully you'll have a greater understanding of play and the benefits of play at work. And you'll also have some clarity on your own specific play personality, which is kind of fun. And then we'll also hopefully have a little bit of a plan for adding more play into your work. So it sounds like some of you came for that. So we hope to give that to you. So in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and share with you our agenda. And first, we're going to do this introduction, which we're doing right now. And then we'll define play. Each of us will define play, create kind of your own play definition. And then we'll talk a little bit about the benefits of play and your own style for play, as well as what play looks like at work and how to play well with others at work. So that's the full agenda of how that goes. And this is Grace. Grace is a cat. I took a picture of Grace. And Grace is a reminder that there's going to be a lot of activities, and having a sense of curiosity and grace as we try different things, because we are actually interweaving playful activities throughout this hour-long session that you're going to get to play in a variety of different ways and try on different play styles. And so those activities, we want you to join in, like the little terrier here, Boston Terrier, and join into the various activities so that you can experience those different play styles and get a sense of which ones you prefer, which ones you don't, and that's part of kind of our outcomes. So, handing it back to Christine.
So one of the things that we're going to do today is you guys will have the opportunity to collect play patches, because who does not love a virtual patch? I mean, come on. So the first patch is our play patch. So we told jokes at the beginning, and some of you may have missed some of that. Once again, this is a PDF file. If you click right on where it says jokes and has a bunch of numbers after it that Adobe Connects adds for no reason at all, you should be able to download the PDF of the play patch. I will also make sure that all of these are uploaded to the Libraries Learn website as well. So I'm going to give you just a minute in case you want to download it. Holler if you have questions. All right, I'm going to move us back to the slides.
Okay, great. So now you've collected your first one, and now we're going to move on to our second section, which is getting to the point of defining play. So in order to do that, think back to when you were a child. And how did you like to play? What were some of the things that you liked to do to be playful? And as you think about those things, what did it feel like when you were being playful? So take a minute to reflect on that. And then write in the chat area what it felt like. Share what it felt like to play when you were a child. We're kind of waiting to hear what other people will add into the chat area about what it was like when you were a kid.
For
that
me,
feeling.
I played like make believe a lot, and it was really like all encompassing. Like it was world building. So it w- it took over everything. It was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, like, I come from a big family, and so we played a lot of games together as a family, and so I think of games and playing games as sort of a way to kind of connect and laugh and have fun with other people.
Hmm. And Lynn has said that when she was little, she would get lost in another world. And Tia says it was always different than what her life was actually like. And so she liked to play gymnast. And Sally says imaginative, using simple things such as sticks and stones to create gameplay. I'm one of four, and my youngest sister is 10 years younger than I am. So by the time she was born, and we're all girls, so we had like all of the dolls, and she literally played with pens and pencils as if they were dolls instead of like the actual toys, which is always kind of funny. um, Mostly a way to put imagination into action, especially for latchkey kids. Yes. Pauline says that play was a manifestation of what I was feeling and creativity. I like that.
Yeah, I love that Cassie said that there was a lot of storytelling involved in her favorite forms of play, and that it was sort of a way for team creative endeavors, which is
Yeah.
kind of fun.
And Miriam liked to play board games and be competitive. These are all great.
So the reason why we wanted to do that, just to kind of get you connected to what it was like was to be playful as a child, is to also think of how play can be defined, and can be defined to also be something that we do in our work. So at in on this slide, there's a variety of different words and concepts that are related to different definitions of play, including researchers' play. And so I want to give you a minute to look at these, what resonates the most, and start to construct your own definition of play. So an example of that might be, I'm going to just move real quickly to this. I might say intrinsically motivated, self-directed really resonates for me, and engagement. And I might choose those to formulate a definition about play, which is sort of like intrinsically motivated activities with self-directed actions that give me, a sense of spontaneity and whimsy. So give you a minute to define your play. And then if you want to share your definition in the chat area, we'd love to see that.
So my definition is like it's whimsical, creative, and for enjoyment. And I see a couple other people typing.
And so Tia puts in for her, play is enjoyment and it's creative. Thank you, Tia, for adding that. There's a lot of concepts here to unpack, so you can kind of think about it a little bit. And we do have the slide deck available to you, so you can circle back to this, and it's also in the field guide.
Mm-hmm. Kara said, fun, imaginative, self-chosen, and increases joy. And Sally says, imaginative for fun, enjoyment, and recreation without harmful intent. And yeah, Tia said she missed increases joy. So these are all great.
Yeah, I love the absence of harmful intent. Thanks for sharing that, Sally. So there's a lot of different definitions of play. And one of the concepts that we really want to give to you to really think about and to share within your organization is, some people think the opposite of play is work, but the opposite of play is not work, it's depression. And so this is particularly critical now in our circumstance because, we've been through a lot in recent years. There's been a lot of mental health issues, and play actually is a way for us to kind of enjoy our work in ways that helps to build resilience and whatnot. And we'll talk about the benefits of play at work in a few minutes, but love to hear any of these thoughts that you have. But these are some things that resonate for me, that it's an intrinsically motivated way to engage and be imaginative for enjoyment and recreation. And all of those things, if you think about these kinds of concepts, they can apply in our work environment as well, right? Like self-directed, feeling a sense of empowerment, agency in the work that we do. So that's part of what play is like, how can we be intrinsically motivated in our work and our engagement?
Were you ever told, like when you were a kid, to stop playing and get to work?
And so congratulations, because you've gone through our second section, you get your next play patch.
Yay, another sticker.
Christine, tell them what they've won.
They have won the play patch, or defining play patch, I should say. So once again, if you click right on where it says defining play, random numbers assigned, it will allow you to download the second play patch. There's 4 more to go. And if you don't feel like doing it now, I will make sure to get them uploaded to the Libraries Learn website at the end of our session. So I'll give you just about another 30 seconds here, and we will move on to our next activity. All right.
The benefits of play. So we're going to do a little poll, I believe. Yeah, okay. And just want you to pick any of these that you think researchers. There's actually been a lot of research on play. So there's several benefits that have been found by research, and just pick the ones that you think it is. And I'm pretty sure you can pick more than one.
Yes, you can pick more than one. I love watching the lines go across.
It's super fun. Yeah.
It's kind of fun also.
The game into itself. Okay. All right.
It's so funny how it changes.
I know.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
looks stable now.
Yeah.
Right.
Better work relationships and stress reduction came in on top.
Well, and oddly enough, those are 2 of the correct answers. And really, if you selected better work relationships, increased productivity, reduction in stress, and skill development, you are right. So how many of you guessed all the right ones?
You can raise your hand or let us know
Yeah.
in chat.
Either way.
Oh,
Hand
we got a
raising.
couple. All right. Very
Nice.
good. Very good.
So, guess what happens next? You've earned another patch. Woo! All right.
By patch 6, you might be like, man. So now you've earned the benefits of play patch. I think I meant to say benefits of play for adults. So don't let the wording of
I
the
just play an adult on TV. I'm not really an adult.
you can download them. So Marion said that she selected all of them, but then she realized that she also had a lot of toys on her desk. So
Well, and just to clarify, Miriam, this is only what research has indicated. So you might
Right.
have other new research projects where you can actually make evidence that toys on your desk is a benefit in your work environment.
yes. All right. So let's go back to the slides because my favorite activity is coming up here.
All right. So we're going to be using a whiteboard, and I think Christine's going to give you some like how to use the drawing tools if it's not
Mhm.
obvious. But what I want you to do is close your eyes for a second.
Sorry. Shoot.
Shoot.
Don't
Well,
pay
just
any
close your eyes for a
attention.
second, except for Christine Krieger, who won't close her eyes. And all of you just imagine your most ideal library, like what it looks like, what it smells like, what it sounds like, what's the outside look like, what's the inside look like.
Okay, bear with me. I made our slides disappear.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we'll take a little bit longer to imagine it just perfectly in our heads.
oh, what are the odds? Okay, hang on. Uh,
And what
This
we're
is
gonna
really a great activity when we get to it. So it'll be great. We'll love
sorry.
it. No,
Oh,
it's okay.
mhm. It'll be
So what we're
interesting to see if the version I pull up is.
Oh, there it is.
Nope, those are the old ones.
Meh.
All right, bear with me. Pay no attention to the person behind the screen.
Well, could we just put up a whiteboard for right now?
We could, yeah, we could.
Okay.
Hang on.
Am I stressing you out? I'm sorry.
Okay,
So I'm going to give you a minute and 30 seconds.
let's see.
And
can
what
I
what
think
I
we have
want
to
you
wait
to
for these.
do.
I think we have to wait for these to upload. I apologize. Because
No
if I
worries.
move away from it, it'll stop the upload.
Oh,
Hmm. Okay, so back to our jokes.
oh, right.
A cheese sandwich walks into a bar, and the bartender says, "I'm sorry, we don't serve food here."
Okay.
We are halfway there.
Why
Yeah.
did the library book go to the doctor? Because
Why
it
did
had a
you?
bad case of bookworms.
So I'm starting to imagine my favorite library, and part of it is like the grounds, what's outside and what it looks like
Yeah.
there too.
Okay. So now that we're back to the place where we're going to do what we're going to do, I'm just going to give you a minute and 30 seconds, and you all are going to draw without communicating with each other, which is pretty easy that you can't communicate with each other, but don't put anything in chat. All of you are going to draw together one library, one perfect ideal library. So this is a little bit collaborative drawing project
So you
without any communication.
I'm sorry. So you should see the drawing tools in between participants and the draw a library. And there's one that kind of looks like a marker. And if you click on it, you can draw and you can change colors. So does everybody see the marker?
All right.
So somebody put in some grass. Oh, so it's not there now? Okay, hang on. I think I need there we go. Now do you see it? I had to reset it.
Yay. Okay. So we're going to go for a minute and 30 seconds. Draw the ideal library. Go team.
I see a person's head.
People. At first I thought it was a window.
Those. And I think that they're either sharing books or coffee. I'm not sure which, but they're loving it.
They're loving the book.
And there's
A
either a
door.
window or a flag of Norway.
There's
Oh, that
some.
must be the door to the library. I love that.
Man, somebody's really good.
I know. I was like, I'm seeing a whole meeting room. Like, who drew the meeting room with the? It looks like it's got a board table and like,
Oh yeah, right.
and it's very accurate. Somebody found some drawing tools that I do not have access to.
Oh, it's a bookshelf. Nice.
Nice. Very cool.
All right. So I'm sorry, your time is up. That was really good. I'm astounded at the
Oh,
capabilities.
look at the stars.
So what was it like for you to create something out of nothing? And with very few instructions and a lot of technical difficulties, and with
Sorry.
other people.
Oh, come on. Okay, so you can use the same drawing tools to say whether you thought it was fun and collaborative, whether you would rather draw on your own, or whether you found it really frustrating. I like the person that wrote it in there too.
Mhm.
All right. This group
And
seems
it's okay if you found it
Pretty,
frustrating. It's okay.
pretty clear. Everyone liked collaborating.
I found it frustrating because I deleted the slides. Very frustrating. Oh, somebody found the text.
Oh,
Fun,
somebody's-
but it gave me a little bit of anxiety. Fear of
Anxiety,
my
yeah.
art not turning out right. Yeah, like when we were
Yeah.
kids, we didn't care if our art turned out right, right? Like, and as
Because there is
adults,
no right, but okay, whatever.
Pauline said in the chat that watching others create and collaborate was joyful. Yay.
Right. So it kind of speaks to the fact like not everyone enjoys playing in the same way, and then that's totally fine. And if you think back to your childhood and your favorite games, like I remember my friend Arlene and I would play Battlestar Galactica, and Jared did not play Battlestar Galactica with us because Jared did not like this imaginative run around thing. But what he liked to do was like make airplanes like out of balsa wood and stuff. And so we would play with him too. And no, even though it wasn't like my way of playing, I could play with him because I know he enjoyed it,
Mhm.
right? And occasionally he'd play with us, but he wasn't really into that kind of make believey thingy. Right? So some
Yeah.
people just do it different.
Yeah, Elliot said when we were kids, we could all draw, sing, dance, but who'd raise their hands now, right? Yeah. Yeah, something about being an adult. Okay, so thank you for working with working with us on that. So that leads us into our next section, which is talking about play types, and then we're going to take a look at our play personalities. So this slide offers several different play types, and some of these might resonate with you. Once again, when we had that activity where you thought back to when you were a kid and kind of the kinds of play that you liked to do, and then others might not speak to you as much. Oh no, I said for this next activity, we're bringing the whiteboard back. So what I want you to do is, I'm bringing the whiteboard back, but I'm going to clear it. Am I? This is what happens when, well, I'm going to turn the draw off and then turn draw back on. Well, there we are. There we go. Okay, I cleared it. What I want you to do now with your drawing tools is I want you to put check marks by words that you think match your play style and underline ones that might really resonate. So you might use the pen and maybe choose like a different color than you've used before or something like that. So once again, you put a check mark next to ones that resonate with you and then underline. And once again, you can go down to the actual words underneath also.
It's so fascinating to kind of see what people check and underline because there's often sort of similar ones for people in libraries or in particular positions in libraries. One of my favorite stories actually is about our state librarian, Nicole Davies, and she tells about when she was a child loving to play executive, like she had her dad's old briefcase and would go and put little items in it and walk to different places and unpack the suitcase and everything. And I just kind of love that she was sort of a director in that way, because now she like runs our state library.
So I'm seeing lots of, we've got some jokers in the room and some explorers, several directors, some storytellers, and then, oh, somebody added one, very cool, which is exercise. So yeah, exercise can be a great way to play and let off steam and kind of all of that stuff. So this is great. We like to organize. We like to be imaginative. We like to tell jokes. Playing sports, but not to win. Yeah, very cool. So what we're going to do next is going to turn off the drawing tools, and I'm going to bring up the next slide just as sort of an example. Using the chat area, and I'll go back to the original slide in just a minute, but I want you to describe your play personality. So in other words, what might be your unique combination of play styles to make up your play personality? And I think in this case, even though I am talking, I believe this is Sharon's play style. She can let me know if that's true or not. But a version of being an explorer, so venturing to the unknown, also being a little bit competitive, but with some storyteller wrapped in. So once again, we're going to, I'll bring the previous slide back up, and you can take a look at it and let us know what your combination of play types might be that make up your play personality.
Yeah, and this is Sharon. That wasn't really mine, but it just kind of was to give an example. Mine would be explorer, director, and kinesthetic, which means kind of like exploring new things and kind of organizing and making movement involved. Yeah.
Yep. So
My,
Ian says explorer, collector, and creator. And Lynn is a storyteller, creator, artist, and director. Cassie is a creator, artist, storyteller, joker. And let's see, Kara, a joker, director, and storyteller. And Tia, a director, creator, and storyteller. Sally is a joker who likes to explore new adventures and dance. So, and Miriam is an explorer of places and ideas, and also a storyteller. So these are great.
I'm a joker, explorer, storyteller.
And Elliot
Like,
is a story. Oh, go ahead, Kieran.
I like to explore and go new places and tell stories about it to other folks, and I just like to have fun along the way with some jokes.
I see some other storytellers in here. Storyteller, creator, and explorer. I think I am. Oh, I don't even know. I'm a joker, maybe a director, but like once again in fun ways. Like I don't want to boss people around. I know. And then I'm kind of a collector too. So thank you all for sharing with us what your play personality are.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of interesting too, just to kind of jump in here, Christine, sorry, but to think about like play styles, what the way you like to kind of like, is it individual or is it like with just another partner, or is it with a larger group of people? Because there may be ways that being in different environments brings out a different kind of play for you.
Yep, that's a great point, Sharon. Okay, so I'm going to. Oh, guess what time it is? It is
Another patch.
Collect another patch.
Woohoo!
Dun, dun, dun. And if you have been downloading the patches, you'll see that they match the pictures that are on the screen before we move to the next one. So we have a fantastic illustrator that works at the State Library, and she created all of these fun play patches for us. So I'll give you just about 30 seconds to download it if you want. Once again, you can collect them later on Libraries Learn.
And we have a place actually in your field guide on play to add your play patches if you like.
Mm-hmm. All right. Onward.
Okay, so now that you've identified your play personality, we're going to start to think about how that manifests in your work, how it manifests as you take on projects, and how it helps to increase your productivity or increase your energy or your connection with other people or your learning. Kind of harken back to some of the benefits that we heard about what play does for you and how those things are actually happening. So Kieran, do you have an example of how your play style kind of manifests in your work?
Yeah, so I had talked about how I was like an explorer and a storyteller, and I realized I do also a joker, and I realized I do a lot of like storytelling through data, where I get to like explore ideas and figure out some facts about it and then kind of tell a story with the data. And I kind of try to keep things light at work and tell jokes and make people feel comfortable.
Yeah, that's great. And what about you, Christine?
So I think at work, I probably am more of a director. I love for things to stay organized. And I've recognized that kind of like during the pandemic time and hereafter, I've sort of like over relied on that. So you will see I have like Trello is my example on the slide here. And I have my Trello to keep things organized. And then I have my calendar and then I have my paper calendar. And like I have to like keep those like in line. Otherwise, the time space continuum will literally explode and none of us want any of that. So I think at work, like it can be my play side and then it can also lead into a little bit of I don't know, anxiety. So there we are. That's my play style at work.
Yeah, and for me, I think about when I do professional development and get people into a room. I really like to not only I like to have everyone explore, right? Like I like to open it up so other people can kind of explore and try things. And so I get to be the director who's kind of coordinating all of that, but everybody gets to be kind of coming up with new ideas and exploring different concepts or things. So that kind of makes me joyful and feels very playful. I geek out on kind of like planning it all to make sure that everyone has an experience that they enjoy. So now you are likely thinking about the ways that you already use maybe whimsy or play in your work. And we'd love to see some of that in the chat area. If you can share some of the things that you do to kind of manifest your play style in a way. And also, you might also start to think about like, you're doing it maybe subconsciously, but how can you do it with a little bit more intention to kind of get to some of those benefits? So waiting in the chat area to see if anybody wants to share about how their one or more of their play styles sort of helps them in their work.
I've got several people typing.
Being lighthearted and not taking everything so seriously. Thank you, Kara, for that. Cassie says, I like collecting memes to put into presentations and training. That's cool. That's like adding that collection piece and exploration. And Sally says she tells jokes to people, breaking out into song. Oh, that's so much fun. Like Sally, you probably live your life like you're in the middle of a Broadway musical, right? Like just break into song. And then says creating paper art to add to the book displays. So yeah, actually creating things like that. That's phenomenal. So you can
There's
continue
a cat
to add
toy in a Zoom. Miriam, that's awesome. Sorry.
That's awesome. Yes, so the Zoom room has a cat toy hanging off of it. So there we go.
There you go. So we're going to feel free to keep adding into the chat area, but we're also going to have another activity for you to really embed this and think about it intentionally in your work.
All right, so now it is playtime. And what we're going to do is I'm going to bring up 3 different scenarios on the slide, and then I'm going to move to 3 different chat windows. And you can pick whatever chat window you want to and describe how you might make it more playful. So the first scenario is it is Monday morning and you know you're going to be on desk most of the day. How can you incorporate play into the day with the public? So think about that for a moment. Scenario 2 is it is now Wednesday afternoon and you are dragging a bit, or you could say it's Thursday because that's what it is today. You have a meeting this afternoon. How might you be able to incorporate play with your team? And then the third scenario is it is your first day back at work after vacation. How are you or can you incorporate play into your day? So I'm going to pull up can see the corresponding chat box. So we have Monday morning, and you can enter chat down at the bottom. Wednesday afternoon, same thing, and back from vacation. So let's brainstorm for a couple minutes on how we might incorporate play into all of these different scenarios. And Leslie had said before that when they do their morning roundup, they put that she puts trivia questions or interesting libraries from around the world as part of that. That is awesome.
It's a fun way to learn and kind of expand our thinking about it, what's possible. Thank you, Leslie.
So Lynn is saying for the Wednesday afternoon slumps that she might start the meeting with a few yoga poses. Lion face always gets people laughing, and now I have to go look that up.
Yeah, I don't know lion face. Now I'm curious.
And Elliot also agrees. Let's get people up and moving. Get rid of the itis. Yes. Ooh, learn a new word and incorporate it into a sentence. That could be fun. And yes, can I drop the prompt into chat? So can I remember what they are? Monday morning. So it's kind of like the start of the week.
And that's more for the public, right? So Monday morning is sort of like you're on desk all week. And how do you make that like public interaction engaging? Wednesday afternoon is kind of at the meeting, and then the back from vacation is just sort of like, how do you ease back in? Hope that helps.
And that was a good idea. Thanks for the reminder.
So Tia says under sort of the Monday morning thing, encourage patrons to stay on one leg as you're interacting with them, maybe just to have kind of a fun and silly challenge. Put a word of the day out and see if you and other patrons can incorporate the word. See, Tia's was in a school library for many years, so she's got all these really great activities for the public to do. And Sally says, take a deep breath, and you guessed it, more singing.
I also like Sally's idea for getting back from vacation, like just going around and like reconnecting with your coworkers, right? And like saying hi, and they'll probably ask you about your vacation, and you can kind of live vicariously through that again. These are all
the storytellers could tell their stories.
Mm-hmm. Unless you have a staycation like me, in which case you're doing lots and lots of chores.
Not a lot of storytelling, right?
And then a white shirt ended up in the middle of the colored laundry. Oh, it's horrible.
You can make anything a good story, Karen. Yes.
So Lynn is saying for Monday morning, have an internal, not public facing, but play bingo with patron requests. So like you have a square for like dinosaur books and one square for a person with a yellow hat. That is fun. I like
that's super fun. That's awesome. Turn reference questions into a game of find the item. Make it a quest between you and other patrons. That's fun, Anna. Thank you.
Oh, and Miriam also says bringing back treats from trips. So yes, food can be definitely fun. And as adults, maybe you are allowed to play with your food because we set the rules, right?
Yeah, and Tia's got scratch and sniff stickers that are always a cool thing to do. You don't need a reason to scratch and sniff a sticker, right? It's awesome.
Speaking of stickers.
And Sally loves Anna's idea about the scavenger hunt too. Yeah, fun.
Ooh, and Miriam's idea about staycation. Maybe you learned something new and you have something that you can share that way. Maybe you learned a new craft or something. All right, we'll give you about 30 more seconds as we're heading into the fourth quarter of our play.
Everybody's jonesing for another play patch, aren't they?
They are. And Cassie's saying just sometimes go and play a little bit with the kids in the youth area. Like there's nothing that will kind of like liven your spirits than like kids who are playing, and you can just kind of go and join them.
Don't you wish that the play patches were scratch and sniff all of a sudden?
I do.
I mean, I know they're virtual.
Like grape or something. Yeah.
All right.
That's why I like the smelly markers.
Oh, that's
so
true.
I'm going to bring us back to our slides. Apologies if I cut you off mid-chat, but dun, dun, dun. Okay. Come on.
It's play patch time!
It's play patch time. So
Congratulations, everyone.
you got play patch 5, and I'll give you about 30 seconds here to download it if you wish. And we're coming into the home stretch here. But we appreciate everybody being so playful so far today. All right.
Alrighty. So think of some work you have coming up in the next few weeks. Maybe a project or something you want to get done. And maybe it's a meeting. I mean, Lord knows there's enough meetings in my week. And think about your play style, your play personality, right? How could you add more play into this thing coming up? And remember these benefits, right? Better work relationships, increased productivity, reduction in stress, skill development, more creativity, increase of intelligence, and more adaptability. And those are all things that the research has shown are the benefits. So, what's your idea for that thing you have coming up? Just go ahead and put that in chat. If you want to share it in the chat, that'd be great. It'll help other people get ideas too. So.
And I sort of think about this somehow as like, if I have a meeting coming up, and maybe one part of the meeting is reducing stress, then which play style might I leverage? And the other idea to think about is sort of like other people that you work with, they would have a different play style than you. Maybe you're a play personality. And so sometimes people bring other play in, like some people bring in competitiveness, that often is something that other people aren't as comfortable with, but recognize it's just part of their play style, so it's kind of good to use this play personality to also keep in mind other people have different ways of playing.
So you could kind of do what we've done during this presentation, which is put all the play styles in through activities.
That is true. So Lynn has decided that Zoom cat sightings should now be a library bingo square. Healthy is saying that our city is doing a Christmas in a small town. We're giving children library bookmarks, and one of us is dressing up as the Grinch. I could
super playful. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then Kara's saying, open the meeting with what was your favorite Christmas present ever. That's a great idea because it's a way of kind of getting to know people without being like, so tell me about yourself, sort of like it unearths more about that person. It invokes emotions in memory and all of that. So that's great. Got a couple more coming in here. Yes, a Dungeons and Dragons icebreaker before a monthly meeting. And we actually do have a CSLN session on Dungeons and Dragons if you visit the Libraries Learn website. That is true. Maybe you don't say Christmas present unless everybody celebrates. So maybe it'd be like, what is the best gift you ever received? Or favorite photos. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about some of the examples you've already given and how they, like one of you was like, bring a word that nobody knows to a meeting and like talk about it and everybody guess what the definition is or whatever that game is. That's part of the increased intelligence one, right? But then there may be something else that's a different game you play for having a more adaptable way of thinking about the services in the children's area, or whatever it is, So I think the key here is to kind of put this all together with intention, right? Like which benefit do you want and how do you leverage a play style in order to kind of do something in a way that really does get at that benefit you want to achieve. And you could even like live it out loud with your coworkers so that they know that you're not just being whimsical, but that actually there's a benefit to it. I always have to bring it into the research and not have it just be about fun. Sorry, Karen.
Such a downer, Sharon.
I know.
She's not. All right. Well, dun, dun, dun.
Play patch 6.
Play patch 6 that Christine has to find on her layouts. This is the Playing Well with Others patch. This is your 6th and final patch. You have not
Woohoo!
collected the whole set. I know you're going to tell all your friends.
I feel like bursting into song just because,
Well, we would have Sally do it if everybody had audio
I
rights.
know, right?
We'll have to
We're
think
hearing
about
you
that.
sing, Sally.
So I'll give
I'm
you about
dancing to her
30 more,
singing.
about 30 more seconds to collect the final patch as we begin our wrap up of today's play session. But there's still more fun to be had. Don't you worry.
But wait, there's more.
We will not be handing out Ginsu knives, but something more fun.
That could be fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so just to remind you of where we started from, our intention today was for you to, through experience with play, have a greater understanding of what play is and the benefits of play at work, and to have some clarity on your own play personality so that you can, kind of be playful in ways that are more intentional, and then actually have some plans for adding more play into your work in the coming week or so that you can kind of increase some of those benefits that were listed. And hopefully, like they say, mood is a contagion. And so as you share more of your playfulness with others and also maybe identify their playfulness, you are kind of creating a more energetic and collegial kind of environment that you're working in. So those were our hopes for today. And we look forward to hearing whether we, helped you get there with that.
And in chat, I asked Sally what song she would sing for the finale so we can all envision it in our heads. So before we do this final activity, you've collected all the pay patches. You've thought about play and how to bring more play to work, the benefits. So what I'm going to do is in Adobe Connect, in case you didn't know, there's a word cloud. So what I want everyone to do, you can see where you can enter the word in the bottom left. Go ahead and type in one word that describes how you're feeling right now. So I've got motivated, energized. Okay, and Sally is saying that we will all be singing Sweet Caroline and add the drum beats together. So as you're adding that word, Sweet Caroline. Dun, dun, dun.
That's the part I can do. Dun, dun, dun.
So we've got encouraged seems to be getting bigger and happy. We've got enlightened and engaged and
Ooh, lots of happy. That's awesome.
Yeah, inspired. Excellent. Sally is now creating a band. And we're all going to
and we really hope you are now motivated to spread play as an important part of work and the library along with us. Help us with the movement.
Yes. So as much as I hate to move away from the word cloud, we are wrapping up today's session. So first and foremost, I wanted to thank everybody for attending and participating. I think we had a really fun time today, and it certainly kind of helped me prepare for the rest of my Thursday afternoon. We do have a survey. If you can either click on the link and it should open for you. I'm also going to post it in chat. And I'm going to type in my email address in case any of you need a certificate. And you can email me directly. And somebody, Miriam, you were asking if we're available for any additional presentations on this topic. Email me directly and we can talk about that. Our next CSL in session is going to be on February 7th, I believe, and Kieran and Sharon will be back to talk to us about library trends. So that is posted on the Libraries Learn calendar. You can access Libraries Learn as well as all of the archives of our previous CSLN sessions using that URL on the slide. I'm also going to type that in chat. So one of the things that you can do, Sharon was talking about passing around this message about play, is by tomorrow morning, the archive of today's session will be on the CSL in session area. So you can use this link to share this session with other people as you see fit. You don't need a login for Libraries Learn. You're welcome to use the archives of any of our previous webinars and CSL in sessions. So we have just a couple minutes. I don't know if anybody has any additional questions, maybe things that we didn't answer during the actual activities that you would like to ask. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. But yeah, we really appreciate everybody participating today. It was a lot of fun for me. Made me smile.
Can you put the whiteboard back up?
People love the drawing tools, so if you want to do some final drawing on the slide, you may.
It was super fun. Thanks everyone for participating.
So Anna is asking, any suggestions for places to find ideas for small activities or play that you can incorporate? Might punt that over to Sharon. I don't know if there's...
You know, I don't, I mean, I think you can just Google stuff. There's some really cool, yeah, we could maybe add more resources to the list. So in the field guide, there is a reference area, but it's mainly about the research. It's a great idea, Anna, to also add some maybe books and materials on how to incorporate more play into your day. But yeah, there's some great books about play. So maybe I'll add those to it. And other people have ideas like Tia. Thank you, Tia.
And Elliot's saying he feels like he's on the right track. It's not a bad idea to try to keep things fun and engaging. And he was joining us from Nashville Public. Another thing you might do maybe is kind of observe the people that you work with and see if you can figure out how they play. I don't think it's something that we generally look for, but that might help you get sort of more ideas.
I love that idea. I think the other thing too is that play is within you, right? So if you're doing it intrinsically, you're just going to it's going to bubble up in you if you give yourself permission to be more playful at work. So, and that might also be something to think about, just sort of like just tapping into that playful feeling and seeing if that little bit of whimsy can be brought in. And it might just occur to you in the moment, like, oh, I could do this thing with bingo cards and whatever. It just seems like you all are quite creative.
Mm-hmm. I'm loving the little dancing person on our slide now. That's cracking me up. I feel like I need to sit there forever.
Some good looking hair. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any last questions or thoughts before we adjourn today? Oh, thank you, Sally. Sally enjoyed this webinar. So if there are no more questions, once again, I want to thank all of our attendees for such awesome participation. I want to thank our captioner for today's session. And most importantly, I want to thank my colleagues, Sharon and Kieran, for helping me put on, for allowing me, I guess, to help them put on this wonderful session on play. So I hope everybody has a really great rest of your afternoon.